Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Focusing in on a viewer question that inquired about what occurs when one's parents are narcissistic and essentially the impact that it has on that individual, that child, in their early life and later life. And this can be covered, it's such an important topic, and can be covered in a number of different videos. But I want to, that's definitely of high importance and value to me. However, I want to go into that here in this video just as some very informative foundation that we can put out there for you to understand exactly how narcissist parents impact a child, their experience of life as a young child, and then later in life as a young adult and a mature adult. But to begin this discussion, I want to reference a very important book by Mr. John Bradshaw called Healing the Shame That Binds You. And he discusses really the role of parenting, especially in a dysfunctional family dynamic. And that can involve narcissistic parents, borderline parents, sociopathic, psychopathic, alcoholic as well. So really this sort of deprivation in childhood of what John Bradshaw refers to as healthy narcissistic needs and mirroring really lays the foundation for that child's experience of life, themselves, and then really ultimately impacts their all areas of their life. And I'm just going to reference a couple important topics here in his book. And John Bradshaw here, he talks about emotional abandonment and narcissistic deprivation. Emotional abandonment and narcissistic deprivation. He said children need mirroring and they need echoing. These come from their primary caregiver's eyes, and mirroring means that someone is there for them and reflects who they are at any given moment of time. In the first 3 years of our life, each of us needed to be admired and to be taken seriously. And we needed to be accepted for the very one that we are. And having these mirroring needs results in what another author, Alice Miller, calls our basic narcissistic supplies. These supplies result from good mirroring by a parent with good boundaries. When this is the case, as Miller describes, in The Drama of the Gifted Child, the following dynamic does take place. The child's aggressive impulses can be neutralized because they don't threaten the parent. The child striving for autonomy is not experienced as a threat to the parent. The child is allowed to experience and express ordinary impulses such as jealousy, rage, sexuality, and defiance because the parents are not disowning these feelings within themselves. The child does not have to please the parent and can develop his or her own needs at their own developmental pace. Furthermore, the child can depend on and use his parents because they are separate from him. The parent's independence and good boundaries allow the child to separate self and object representation, and because the child is allowed to display ambivalent feelings, he can learn to regard himself and the caregiver as both good and bad, rather than splitting off certain parts as good and certain parts as bad. And the beginning of true object love is possible because the parents love the child as a separate object. So this is a lot, of course, and some psychological terminology which I want to discuss and break down and how it relates to narcissistic parents. So narcissistic parents, in essence, do not really provide that healthy mirroring, which Bradshaw and many psychologists understand, which is reflecting, emotions, healthy boundaries, healthy sense of self back to that child. So, in other words, through eye contact, through guidance, through communication, through affirmation and identification of their feelings, this is happy, this is sad, this is dangerous, this is safe, this is okay, this is not okay. It's a mirroring back to that child, and then, validating that experience within them and validating that they're a good, lovable, little person with a personality, and that they are embracing as their own as their own little self. So it's reflecting back that child, of course, which needs guidance, needs instruction, needs to learn about their emotions, needs to have boundaries in their environment, what's safe, what's not safe, and being nurtured in that way, guided in that way, reflected back. So that is called healthy mirroring. And so a child absorbs from their environment in this manner. That's how they learn. That's the beginning of their formative years of becoming their own person. And now the narcissist, because they are really not identifying with their child, because of their heightened sense of self, because of their lack of empathy, they're not able to give the child that healthy mirroring. They're not able to look into their eyes and tell them, good job, good boy, good girl, I'm here for you, don't worry, I will protect you, I will keep you safe, I understand you, I understand your tears, I understand your happiness, I understand your laughter, I understand your need for an adult, and instead of reflecting that back to the child and mirroring it, and then kind of being there as their, big buddy, or their parental figure, their caregiver, the narcissist is too caught up or threatened by this child. They're too caught up in their own emotional needs, their own narcissistic needs, very self-centered. So they're really thrown off by having a child in their environment. They're thrown off because they don't have oftentimes the patience or the kind of emotional fortitude to reflect back to them. They're a mirroring back of this child, and that they're a good person, that they're capable. I validate your reality. Your brother beat you up. Let's talk about this. Let's sort this out. Let's work things out. We're not going to have violence. We're not going to have lies in this family. We're not going to be hiding things. It's an ability to keep law and order essentially in the family, and to keep that healthy mirroring back. And then, creating, what John Bradshaw would, call a healthy individuation. But see, that doesn't occur from a narcissist parent, because they're threatened by the child, because the child is now taking over more attention than they are getting in the family. They really are uncomfortable with that, because they haven't worked through their own satisfaction of narcissistic needs. So they tend to, really kind of bypass that whole mirroring phase. In fact, they instill what John Bradshaw calls a shame-based personality, which, teaches the child basically to be ashamed for having their own emotions, to be ashamed for having their own narcissistic needs, which means having attention, being approved of, being acknowledged, being validated, being valued, being loved, being cared for. And because the narcissist parent really isn't able to do this, the borderline parent often isn't able to do this, the alcoholic parent often isn't able to do this, they create what John Bradshaw calls a shame-based personality, which in essence, and I've done a number of different videos on this, you can check the channel here, but basically the child then develops what's called a shame-based personality, where they feel really in essence that part of them is inherently flawed, inherently wrong, inherently unlovable, inherently hated, inherently not good enough, inherently just something is wrong with you. It's never going to change, and I'm going to continue to remind this about you through your entire life, and I'm going to validate this, what we call negative validation. So oftentimes, children of narcissistic parents, they go through life feeling this sense of being internally flawed, and feeling like they're not good enough, feeling like something is wrong with them, and this has nothing to do with truth, has nothing to do with reality, has nothing to do with that person, that little child baby spirit, baby body, toddler person. It is really what it has everything to do with the shortcomings of the narcissistic parent, the borderline parent, the alcoholic parent, who in essence abandons them psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, in those sort of mirroring, connection. And so what ends up happening is this internally flawed sense of self then strives to constantly, try to figure out what is wrong with that narcissistic parent and work to please them, and creates the parent then at the center of their life rather than their own strength being at the center of their life. So it's, cleaning, it's the chores around the house, it's fixing the meals, it's constant worrying about the parent's feelings. It's worry that there's going to be an outbreak. It's worry that, I haven't performed good enough. My grades aren't going to be good enough. I'm going to be yelled at. I'm going to be scolded. I'm going to be, not protected from my siblings. They're going to doubt my reality. They're going to give this negative validation. They're going to try to assign emotions to me which don't exist. You always provoke your brother. You always provoke your sister. Even though, that sister might be 10 years older than you, they're still trying to assign blame onto you when you're 3, 4. They might throw water on you. They might physically abuse you. They might cause you to, bite soap or, do an insane amount of chores or other sort of strange, punishments, which are meant to further the shame base and keep you bonded in what John Bradshaw calls a traumatic bond to that parent. So it's not really a relationship, it's more of a traumatic bond. And so what ends up happening, and there's going to be a lot of videos on this, and I've done quite a bit. And once again, if you do need assistance with this, please do consult with me, peaceandharmony.now@gmail.com, and I can help, consult and do talk therapy with you, and furthermore educate you on an individualized basis if you do need assistance with this, and it's very important to you. I can certainly help you work through these steps and help you kind of move beyond this and better understand it, and help you apply the tools that we discuss here on the channel. And as we were saying, so this child then develops this codependent tendency, which means to constantly people please and really sacrifice their own identity, their own strengths, their own what we call individuation, becoming your own person, feeling okay with, going out and being industrious in the world. Some of the first steps that we, that people take, children take at 3, 4, 5, which is individuation and being comfortable with being industrious, being their own person, being productive, having their own friends without being ashamed, pursuing their own grades without being, feeling like they're, going to be shamed. So, oftentimes we see this in children of narcissistic parents where they keep an unhealthy attention to their parents. So in essence, it's like the children are raising the parents, when it should be very much the other way around. The children have to take care of the parents' needs rather than the parents taking care of the child's needs. And this then stems back to narcissistic parents who are threatened by the very presence of this other person because they can't help them regulate their emotions. It takes attention off of them. And so they just tend to shortchange the development of this child. And so, this then develops into, later life, this feeling of like, it's hard for them to feel, get over this hump of feeling inferior or feeling like an indelible constant pain, having this threat of abandonment. A lot of these are stemming from these early childhood foundations, memories, and associations, which can be unlearned. There's so much to this. It's such an important topic. But that is really in the beginning how this occurs. So again, the goal then is to realize that you are wonderful, you are magnificent for yourself, for your own spiritual nature, your own personality, your own desires, your own relationships, things that you want to bring and contribute that, you need to learn to individuate, which means, break apart from the mirroring or the faulty mirroring from this parent. So the narcissistic parent will reflect back an erroneous image of you to yourself, which is usually very caustic, very hurtful, very toxic, that, you're this terrible person and there's something wrong with you, and then they furthermore shame you. So it is removing this faulty mirror, this distorted mirror that is projected onto you by the narcissistic parent, and learning to, mirror yourself, the healthy, qualities within you, that you get in touch with these, mirror these back to yourself, and furthermore surround yourself with other people who can mirror back, reflect, acknowledge, and appreciate the wonderful qualities of you, so you can begin to live it, experience it, and know it. And so then you're able to individuate, which one should have done earlier in their life, age 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., where they kind of become their own little entity, their own little person, and not feel guilty about it, not feel fearful about it, and not feel like they're, foregoing the care of their parents. So this can be done in later in life. And that's very much the goal of my channel here, is to assist in that transformation. So please do examine my other videos that we discussed on this, as terms of individuating, empowering, and becoming, getting beyond the abuse and realizing the wonderful person that you are, and really enjoy life the way it's meant to be lived and enjoyed. Peace and harmony with you here today. Thank you for your inquiry. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.